You know what? It's been a while since we watched one of his videos. Let's watch the... I guess it's now the Second Wind video on Mewgenics. I've heard this game's really good. I haven't played it. But I like his channel. I've always liked his channel. Yeah. We might watch that
with
one,
us
maybe.
since the halcyon Newgrounds days of browser-based Flash games, that wonderful nostalgic era when a complete absence of censorship was merely the means by which we could all enjoy poo-poo and dead baby jokes and wasn't yet official government policy towards...
One thing I will say about this game, a lot of people are like, oh my god, this game has made so much money. This game is basically the equivalent... It's basically the equivalent of Silksong. It's made by the fucking Binding of Isaac dev. It's like, this is, the guy who made it is not like a new indie dev. He has years of experience. He used to work for Team Meat on Super Meat Boy, then went and made Binding of Isaac. The guy who made it, not exactly new to this industry.
presidential support of neo-Nazism, Edmund Macmillan has been one of the more consistent voices in indie development. I mean, re-releasing The Binding of Isaac 9,000 times is certainly consistent, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he's finally broken that habit and put out an entirely new game called Mewgenics. But if you're frightened of new things because your mum only fed you chicken tenders, rest assured that all the wholesome, reliable Flash-style cutesy animation, poo jokes, body horror, religious references, disquieting fixation on anuses and child abuse has merely been changed for Flash-style cutesy animation, poo jokes, body horror, religious references, disquieting fixation on anuses, and animal abuse. Like I say, consistent. And intellectually I can get behind ruining cats a lot easier than ruining abused children. Cause fuck cats. One keeps sneaking into...
You wanna know another fun thing about this? I don't know if he's gonna mention it. There's a controversy going on with the game right now. It's not because of the content of the game. It's because of some of the voice actors. He hired basically as many controversial voice actors as he could find. And it's cost the game some attention. I believe it is both. Is it? I know that Ethan Klein does a cat voice. Fucking Chris Chan does a cat voice. There's a few others on there that I'm not remembering. Let me see. Now, there's a bunch of voice actors that are not controversial. But also, it had, like, this list basically has a bunch of random people. Fucking Cupquake is for some reason on this list. Pretty much... think of just random... like, again, there's also just random non-controversial voices. Like, fucking... like, Charlie does a voice of a cat. Fucking Swagger Souls does a voice. Max Mofo does a voice. Michael Reeves does a voice. And then randomly in there, you've got, like, H-Bomber Guy. And you've got Anissa. You've got fucking Ethan Klein. Germa does a voice. What's the more fun ones we haven't? Lily Pichu does a voice. He's just gone and he's like, do you wanna know what his logic is? And this is what he's telling people. If you don't like one of the voices, you can just literally kill the cat. I don't know if iDubbbz has a voice in here. But, oh no, iDubbbz has a voice in here. iDubbbz has a voice. You've got, you have Corpse Husband in here. Let me show you the list. Okay, this list is even better than I thought it was. A lot of people are joking that at some point he's gonna do a DLC and have like fucking Hassan and Asmongold do a voice, because at this point, why not? Why the fuck not? This is a game about murdering cats. He's not, like, you're not gonna make up some controversy about the game. Duncan, why the fuck is Duncan Trussell in here? Sam Hyde is not on the list, assuming he's not using a pseudonym. That would be funny, though. But, like, basically, you've got so many fucking voices in here. If you don't like one of the voices, you can literally just kill the cat. Here we go. Here's a interview. The presence of YouTubers Ethan and Hila Klein of H3 Productions has drawn criticism. Israel-Palestine. I like that. That's one of the ones they're focusing on. Chris Chan should be in jail, by the way. We shouldn't even talk about Chris Chan doing voices. Chris Chan should be in jail. I wanted the game to feature a huge array of iconic voices I've been hearing echoing across the internet for most of my time making games. As some probably noticed, I was pretty all over the place when it came to cameos and did my best to include and keep ones that clashed or kind of counterbalanced each other. The inclusion of Ethan and Healer was counterbalanced by iDubbbz and Anissa. iDubbbz and Anissa, yeah. I made sure to contact both to make sure they were okay with the others' involvement, so it didn't feel like a weird gotcha on the release. They were both very adult about it. And said they had no issues with other being added, and I really respected that. Since I know they have been publicly feuding with each other, it's hard to explain without revealing aspects of the game people haven't really experienced yet, but the inclusion of people with clashing ideologies felt appropriate. So basically, it was just like, fuck it, throw everything at the wall, do everything, who cares? The game is about eugenics with cats. The game is literally about you murdering cats. The voices are probably the least controversial part of it.
My garden to leave poos and chew up the lawn ornaments, and I keep just missing him when I try to catch him in the act. So my dog tells me anyway. In Mewgenics, we are cast in the role of a crazy cat lady, or rather crazy cat faceless, genderless, omniscient overseer, who runs a house full of randomly generated cats jumping around, fighting, fucking, and pooing on things, depending on what furniture you've installed and how poo receptive it is. And every few days, we nominate 4 of them to go on a quest, giving each one an adventurer class and a silly hat before sending them off on a succession of random encounters and isometric, grid-based, turn-based
Can't have any real voice actors.
Just like entities. It's sort of a cross between Slay the Spire and XCOM, in which when your commandos return triumphantly from the battlefield, you get to watch them fuck and poo on each other. But the question hanging over it all for me is what it's all in aid of, assuming you don't consider watching them fuck and poo on each other the end in itself. Binding of Isaac sort of had a plot. You were trying to explore the secrets of the mysterious endless basement and get cathartic revenge on your evil mum 90,000 times. In Mewgenics,
is the mew part to do with mewing? No, I think it's the sound a cat makes. No, I don't think there's any mewing cats. Maybe there are. That's possible.
We're not given any specific reason why we're sending feline quartets to die at the hands and anuses of the evil legions. I mean, they bring back money and food to keep your home base going, but what is the long-term goal of the home base? What's the main villain or threat? We're certainly not acting for the benefit of the cats, because they can't be sent on quests more than once. If they manage to not die and return home in glory, you're expected to donate them to one of several extremely suspect individuals in town in order to raise our relationship score with them, acquire new upgrades for the house, and make room for new cats. We are not shown or informed what these people are doing with our old cats, but we never see them again, and they always need new ones, so something tells me they're not putting on fashion parades. It's rather upsetting, considering that much as what happens with XCOM, I get attached to those cat units who acquire enough quirks and abilities on their adventure for some kind of personality to emerge, like my hunter with several insect familiars who wore a decaying lump of meat on their head and was permanently grinning broadly as if taking perverse relish in the rank stench he no doubt emitted. I liked him, and then he made it home and I had to say toodaloo and send him to that scientist with the unusually large stock of black plastic bin liners. I know you don't understand human emotions, Edmund, or why other people don't like staring at anuses all day, but some of us make...
No, I think he's fully aware. He knows how uncomfortable... He knows how uncomfortable his games make people. He is fully aware. Everything this man does is entirely intentional.
investments in these things, especially considering how long a single run can take. Turn-based tactical battles don't exactly pass at a brisk pace when you have to micromanage everyone's movement and ballistic farts one by one. It's slow going even when you're not fighting bosses with their hundreds of HP you have to whittle down as you defend yourself as best you can from all their bullshit, in both the figurative and literal sense. So I'd come home after an arduous quest to literal hell and back, long enough that I've come to love my merry band and their artfully crafted overpowered builds, before going welp and boxing them all up to mail to creepy dude C, who's promised to add an extension to my house if I give him 25 gently used cats.
Woo!
25 fucking cats for the first house extension upgrade. What do you even need that many for? You're mincing them up to make the cement. That's at least 7 runs worth of cat veterans, and that's if I'm not also giving cats to the other 5 perverts. In other words, making permanent progress in the game is a rather obnoxiously long process, with most of our achievements being completely ephemeral. Powerful he-cats and useless wee-twats alike come and go, like it's the production line at the suspiciously inexpensive chicken nugget factory. Now, I'm misrepresenting things here. While donating veteran cats is the only way to get permanent upgrades, you don't have to do it. You need a few around to repel the occasional invasion boss, and of course they can be used for breeding. But in defiance of it being essentially the eponymous feature, I didn't see much point in trying to exert any control over the breeding. It's entirely random if, when, who, and with what degree of sensitivity fucking takes place, and the resultant kittens don't seem to have a better chance of decent starting stats or abilities than the random cats who show up every day, who've finally grown tired of pooing in socially acceptable places outdoors. And now we're getting to it. All success comes down to a roll of the dice, the traditional flaw of the roguelite. You've got very limited control over who breeds and in what manner your cats level up after battle, and the path of your quest is littered with random skill checks against random cats. You might have 3 cats with intelligence stats in the double digits, but then find an intelligence skill check being directed at the 4th cat who won't stop licking the paint off of walls, and who the others only brought along so they could put out cigarettes on his face. But while I'm iffy about the broad mechanics, the vagueness of our ultimate goal, the isometric camera in battles making it occasionally really hard to pass what's going on when dudes are clustered together, and the fundamentalist approach to the teachings of RNGesus, once I've gotten past some initial stumbling, there's something about Mewgenics that keeps me coming back. I find myself properly strategizing, always have at least one healer, try to use lots of familiars, because each one is another thing for the enemy to poo on instead of me. I've finished Hades 2 on my Steam Deck now that Lord Moros has finally fucking put out, so I had a vacancy for an after-work casual me-time game, and somehow Mewgenics has wormed its way into that position, and I'm not yet inclined to break out the deworming tablets, as it were. It's possible the randomness and ephemeralness has gotten its claws in and put me in the position of mindless slack-jawed pulling on the fruit machine lever in the hope of just one more sniff at the anus of success, but at least the visuals are appealing and the soundtrack's good, and it's funny I should say that, because that's the exact opposite of what one normally expects from an anus.
As always, very fun content. I do want to check out one that we can actually see some gameplay, because I've not played the game. We could look at the IGN one. Who else has got a video that I might know? I'm not seeing any notable ones. Yeah, but someone has to do the voices of the cats. And that's what they've done.
There aren't a ton of games that I've happily put more than 100 hours into as quickly as I have with Mewgenics. This feline flavor.
Wait, I'm sorry. I assume it was in early access, because the game's been out for like a couple of days.
Flavored turn-based roguelike.
Assuming you didn't have access to it for like a long time beforehand.
Tactical RPG takes place on a 10x10 grid, with mostly traditional classes like fighter, mage, hunter, tank, and necromancer, among others. What sets it apart, aside from the cutesy macabre art style that slathers its creative zones with blood and poop, is that so many of the skills and attributes your team will end up with are randomized and for the most part out of your control.
One thing I actually do need to get around to playing Binding of Isaac at some point. I don't know why I've never actually played it.
All but ensuring that no 2 runs will play out the same way and forcing you to improvise and play the hand you're dealt. Combined with the absolute mountain of content here, there's so much that I'm still seeing new enemies, skills, mutations, and loot pop up after more than 150 hours. It's been able to draw me back in time and time again by dangling the possibility of an absolutely wild team coming together and bulldozing through the boss that turned my last party into kibble.
That is the joy of every even roguelike games that are skill based, like Dead Cells, for example. The joy is getting that perfect run, getting that perfect set of gear, that everything just dies. every single one of these games, that is, like, a lot of them have ways to manipulate the RNG. I assume this has ways as well. But the true joy is just bulldozing everything.
I haven't seen the final ending after all of that time, and this game has several of them, but I can't imagine I'll be getting tired of it before I do. Mewgenics is a game about cats, but it's not necessarily going to appeal to people who passionately love them, because it's a dark comedy that treats them as meat to be put through a grinder. If you've played any of Edmund McMillen's previous classics,
I know one of the, so it was showing like skills there.
That treats them.
One of the skills you can get, I think it was just called autism. Mewgenics autism cat. Yeah. Yeah, one of the skills you can get is just autism. -2 charisma, I think this is. +2 intelligence, which actually that stat line would make sense for what those are. The spells you were born with cost 2 less mana. Your other spells cost 1 more mana.
As meat to be put through a grinder. If you've played any of Edmund McMillen's previous classics, you'll have a sense of the type of humor to expect. It's delightfully gross and endlessly weird at every turn. Even knowing that, as a longtime cat owner myself, I was perhaps a little bit too conservative about just how unsympathetic and detached you're expected to be. I probably took longer than I should have to unlock crucial upgrades for my house, because doing so requires shipping dozens of cats off to live with a set of goofy weirdo NPCs never to be seen again. This guy will only take newborn kittens, and he needs tons of them to unlock crucial information on how to breed more. Other characters want older cats, mutated cats, injured cats, or cats who have been on runs to specific places in order to improve stores or add new rooms to your house, among other things. Mewgenics requires you to think differently about your characters than most RPGs. Cats with low or unremarkable stats are lost causes who will just weigh your squad down, so you're best off spending them like currency and keeping only the picks of various litters. Selectively breeding your cats takes place here. To pump out the best kittens, you'll have to place furniture with stats like simulation and comfort in a sort of Diablo-style inventory Tetris. And if you do it right, you'll end up with some good mutants that have innate abilities and get increasing—
God, this would be hell for me to deal with. I would spend way too fucking long trying to hyper-optimize where things are placed.
Weird looking. Also, you gotta clean up poop every day, because for some reason there's no litter box. When everything's arranged to your liking, you hit the end day button, and your cats will choose their own mates based on who's in a room with them, as well as their own genders, libidos, and orientations. Yep, there are gay and bisexual cats. And yeah, those animations take obvious pleasure in being unsettling, but they can be toned down in the menus, FYI.
Sorry, what?
They can be toned down in
the fuck? What is this?
Menus, FYI.
I'm gonna say I don't think that's how that works.
Optimizing this to produce the most powerful cats possible with the inherited stats and traits you want, while also avoiding too much inbreeding, is tricky. But you can't really fail at this part.
Of course there's an inbreeding stat. Of course there is. Why wouldn't
Even
there
if you lose or give away all of your cats, you can just start again from scratch using the strays who show up every day. Mewgenics doesn't make managing a lot of them super easy though. There's no way to view a list of all your cats. You just have to tediously cycle through them one at a time. You do unlock some tools to label them and view their gnarly family trees, but when you have 40 cats roaming around, it can be a pain to find what you're looking for when you're putting a team together. But that's another area where Mewgenics is unconventional and unpredictable, because you can't initially see what all their starting abilities will be. You'll get their base stats, mutations, and basic attacks, and sometimes they'll come with a spell or passive abilities from one of their parents. But it's not until you lock in their classes that you'll learn what you're really working with, and if they'll synergize well. Each of the 12 classes has 75 abilities that might pop up, so I get the same thrill from this reveal that I do from picking my hand up in poker, or seeing modifiers on a daily run in Slay the Spire or Monster Train 2. Sometimes it's good news and I'm excited to see where it takes me, and sometimes it's not, and I brace myself for a thrashing and just hope for a surprise turnaround if I can survive long enough to level them up and unlock some better skills. I do wish it would let me see what items I have in my inventory while I'm picking my classes though. That's pretty important information for building synergies. It's also tricky to keep track of what you have on hand because gear in Mewgenics doesn't last forever. You can expect to get 3, maybe 4 runs out of something before it breaks. And that's assuming you don't wipe and lose all but one thing you took with you and picked up along the way. I actually enjoy the way this prevents me from relying too heavily on any one strategy though. Picking your favorite gear on only a few runs may not sound like much, but that's more than the actual cats get.
So it's really about like cycling heavily through cats, cycling heavily through gear. You don't want to like it really is individual roguelike runs in that sense.
Another reason you can't count on the tricks you used in the previous run working just as well on the next, even if you take the same classes and gear, is that each cat only gets one adventure in which to level up and develop their skills. You'll be able to use them in combat 1 or even 2 more times during special battles where major monsters attack your house. That was tough to get my head around at first, because I'm accustomed to my RPG party members sticking around for a while, or at least until I get them killed.
But I guess you want to treat them less like party members and treat them more like items. Treat them more like gear, where you should be using it. You should be consuming those resources. That I think that's a very interesting way to sort of. It's a very different style of handling encounters like this. Most games, even like an XCOM, right? Like an XCOM, you want to level up your dudes and keep them around for like a long time.
When your party heads out onto one of the 3-acts adventure maps, you'll start with a single path that then branches off into 2, each of which has 2 completely different stages, each packed with their own sets of unique enemies. There are so many, you definitely won't see them all even after several runs. You'll definitely want to stop and read their descriptions before diving in, because some of them have some extremely nasty tricks up their sleeves. The stakes are already pretty high given that your cats get permanently injured every time they get downed, and can be outright killed if their bodies are destroyed by attacks or eaten by zombies. But some enemies can instantly and permanently kill a cat, or infect it with a parasite that takes up a gear slot, for example. So watch out. Each zone is also stocked with multiple bosses that range from powered-up versions of each class to huge, nasty monsters with their own creative, game-changing mechanics. But on balance, these are excellent battles that make me think differently about how to manage my team's turn order and abilities.
I think the way you immediately make this game unfun is looking up meta builds. Like, I'm sure people are starting to put together, like, okay, what is the best team composition with best gearing, best item? Like, if you do that, you're actually just gonna ruin this game. That's my thought.
One thing that stands out to me about the structure of Mewgenics runs, aside from how they can take as long as 2 hours once you've unlocked all the zones
Jesus!
and some secret ones, is that you kind of rarely get to make decisions about the path you're taking between battles. You mainly get to choose between the default path and a harder one with better loot and one more battle to level up a cat in, and then very occasionally between 2 types of rewards. That makes the between battle encounters feel a little bit less interesting than in some similar games, especially when they're basically a coin flip without any indication of which one will give you a bonus and which one might hurt or kill a cat. There are, of course, some more in-depth multi-stage encounters where you're picking between a bunch of options where your chances of success are determined by a cat's stats. However, since the cat whose stats you're working with is chosen randomly, there are kind of 2 layers of luck involved before you get a shot at a good outcome. It often feels completely random, but that's alright because so much of Mewgenics is doing the best you can with the circumstances beyond your control. During combat, there are so many different things in play that the interactions between cats' mutations, passives, spells, gear, environmental modifiers, and enemies can get crazy complex.
Yeah, so it definitely does seem like it lends itself to, once you start understanding the mechanics, understanding how to chain things together and sort of create combos that individually are weak, but together sort of like multiply each other rather than being additive.
And figuring out exactly what happened or predicting what will happen can be like investigating a crime scene, and often with just as much blood splatter. All the answers are in there somewhere if you know where to look and study the rules carefully. Sometimes it's all about, you guessed it, poop. It can get chaotic when there's a lot on screen, but there is a tactical view that clears things up, mostly. Usually, if you think some interaction might work, it probably will. Water and ice will put out fire, water will conduct electricity and zap everything that stands in it, that sort of thing. It does kind of stand out as illogical when things like robots are susceptible to bleeding, poison, and parasite infections, and the Butcher class's meat hook weapon can't actually hook meat unless you luck into the right upgrade for it. But again, most of the time it works like you'd expect it to. So one of the biggest joys of playing is when a powerful team dynamic emerges as you earn new skills or raise one cat's stats after every battle. Recently, I had a squad with a monk character who could toss out meat pickups. Those usually just heal the team, but when you combine it with a butcher who can turn all those meats into minion fly familiars, and a druid who can then boost those fly stats and turn them into killing machines, it became a way to raise an army in a single turn. On another run, I had a cleric whose health regeneration applied to the whole team, and then I got an item that let me continually boost that regen multiple times per turn, allowing my necromancer to run wild with a high damage attack that also drained half his own health. With so many skills out there are countless examples like this. And while you won't win the lottery with a great combo on every run, they happen more than enough to make me excited about what might come next. What is a little frustrating when I'm planning out my next moves in a tough fight where every action matters is that there's no way to access a cat's full character sheet while you're in a battle, so you can't see their list of mutations.
Oh, that's stupid. No, there are definitely some stuff here that feel like sort of design oversights, and I get it, like you want to be locked into a run, but you should be able to know what all your tools are.
Or all their equipment's full effects when you need that information the most. It's almost all represented visually on your cats at least, but that does mean you have to remember what a cat having a second head growing out of its butt means, for example. When the rules
I guess in many ways, Isaac is like that as well.
are changing so dramatically from one run to the next, it would be great to be able to reference all of them at any time.
Meow.
But as if all those variables weren't enough already, Mewgenics throws you yet another curveball when it sends you on one of its story or side quests. Those all revolve around these unique, powerful items that you get and then have to equip, and they change the rules in a big way, and you have to take each one to a specific zone. One of the most memorable gives you a 5-second time limit on every action, and if you don't make a move, the AI will take over and move for you. I was glad I wasn't playing that one on the Steam Deck because the controls there are serviceable but not nearly as quick as a mouse and keyboard. Another one shook things up by giving my cats random selections of abilities from every class every time they leveled up, creating a team of powerful hybrids that are usually hard to come by.
Okay.
The story itself is pretty light and silly, don't expect any like Hades-style epics here. But it is good for a few yucks as you're doing the bidding of an incompetent
Light and silly. The game about murdering cats.
mad scientist. Another area where Mewgenics is truly exceptional is in its sound and music, which are fantastic in both big and subtle ways. It comes with a collection of original and hilarious songs that accompany each level.
Where's that smell coming from? Where's that smell coming from?
And the cat's meows come from a vast selection of different randomly selected voices, including some celebrity cameos. One of the best touches, though, is the crowd sounds. The very best part is what happens when one of your cats is killed in action. That gets me every time, and trust me, I've heard it a lot. Lastly, Mewgenics has a fun and surprising approach to the practice of save scumming, where you quit out of a battle that you've messed up and restart it with a knowledge of what not to do. I won't spoil what happens, but there are consequences if you abuse it. Thankfully, you do get some flexibility in case of like a power outage or a spouse demanding you stop playing that game you've been playing for 150 hours and do the dishes, but it's kind of implicit that you do have permission to save scum at least once per run, and yes, I do use that regularly.
Okay, that's interesting.
More than once, I've looked up from playing Mewgenics and realized it's 1:30 a.m. It's that kind of tactical turn-based roguelike, where every new run with a new set of mutant feline adventurers is full of potential for something you didn't even know could happen, even after dozens of hours of runs. Maybe you'll earn a completely new ability for a character class that you've used dozens of times, or you'll see a new devious enemy that's never appeared in a zone before, or you'll get a new piece of gear that completely upends the rules and chaos will ensue. You'll definitely see something hilariously gross. There will
They just meow. They don't talk. They are cats.
almost certainly be times you'll be sent back to your house with your tail between your legs and have to breed a new batch of cats to avenge their mulched predecessors, but you'll do it to the tune of some outstanding original songs.
Reviews editor Tom Marks here with freelance review.
I'm not watching the rest of you just yapping. Why is this even part of this video? So, I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things about this game. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Anyway, I think we're gonna check out there. I am hungry. I want to go get some food.